You're tuned in now, so let's begin. A show where stories always win. Grab your seat and lend your ear. The moment's bright, the vibe is clear. It's Tell Me Everything. Stars inside, gonna sing and swing. With Rosal and Duke, there's joy in the air. Life's a show and we're all there. In the spotlight, tales unfold. New adventures started bold. With Rosal and Duke, here's joy in the air. Life's a show and we're all there. Get ready for the fun to rise. Every story a surprise. Rosalind's here to guide the way. So much to hear, so much to say. It's Tell Me Everything. Stars inside, gonna sing and swing. With Rosal and Duke, there's joy in the air. Life's a show and we're all there.
Well, hello.
Hello. That's quite the intro there.
Oh, thanks. It's a little long, don't you think?
I don't know. I mean, on a live show, perhaps it could be good because people get a notification. It could take a while for them to roll in.
Right.
It all depends. I guess you look at your stats and say, okay, how many people are here after 30 seconds and all that good stuff.
Gotcha. Well, it's hard to cut it back because I like it.
Well, there you go. I will say it's rough on people though when they're binging. If they go one to another to another to another to another.
Oh, sure.
Then it kind of
adds
up more. But
sure.
You never know.
Okay, so I know who you are. I'm, longtime listener, first time talker too. No, not really though. We have met in person once. Who is Eric Hunley?
An itinerant YouTuber. I don't know. I just have different shows on YouTube. I don't know if a serial YouTuber, what you would call me, but I do interviews. I do another show called America's Untold Stories with Mark Robert, which lately has been more news oriented, but we have done a lot of JFK and other content. I do a legal panel most Fridays. It used to be every fortnight, then it was weekly. Now it's as often as I can. And so I'll have a good run if the lawyers show up. And it's always a challenge on that regard.
Right. So tell me something about your childhood. How would you describe it?
Confused? No. I grew up in the desert on a ranch outside of Tucson, Arizona. And I grew up with goats, went to a school school system, essentially, which is a bunch of much more wealthy, upscale kids. I was kind of a poor kid in a rich school. It's probably the best way I'd put it.
Okay. So do you think that made you more of like an observer because of that? Do you feel like that kind of helped you?
It depends on how you look at it. I mean, I had really bad allergies and things like that as a kid. So a lot of times when I was really little, I wasn't able to play with the other boys. So I'd hang out with the girls and stare at the boys some of the time. So the observation maybe came into effect at that point, but don't know. I mean, everything in life is going to shape you one way or another, good and bad. Sure. I didn't enjoy a lot of it at the time, but
right. You were in the military.
I was.
And what was your job in the military?
I had a couple jobs. Started out, didn't want to be, but I went in was very broke at the time, donating plasma twice a week and wanting to write for a newspaper and kind of saying, okay, I'm sort of desperate. I need work. Army's always a good way to pick up a job. If you have nothing and you're a young male and you don't want to go live with mom and dad,
Right.
The military is good. So I took the job offered to me that had the bonus in it, which was a cook, even though I qualified for everything else. And unfortunately, that job locked me into the worst job in the Army, in the worst duty station in the Army, which is Fort Irwin, California. And from there, I did a reenlistment, and I had learned my lesson. And in reenlistment, you have one option. You can either change your job or your duty station. Well, if you have the worst job and the worst duty station, what do you do? So I picked a job I really didn't care about, but it didn't look that bad, that was only available in Fort Eustis, Virginia, out of everywhere in the entire Army. So that guaranteed me both a new job and a new duty station.
Nice.
So that was 88 Hotel Cargo, loading ships. I only did it one time, and then I was moved on to a special detail, being a training NCO.
Okay. All right. Now, you did mention something you were looking, you said something about working for a newspaper. So was journalism always on your radar?
I wanted to do journalism. I did it in high school, and I was submitting articles freelance for the papers in Kansas and Kansas City Star, which is actually Kansas City, Missouri, thinking that it would be cool to do that full time, but I never was actually on as an employee. I would freelance for $50 a story or whatever it was, and got a handful of stories published in the local paper and a couple more in the Kansas City Star. So I thought that, okay, this might turn into something, but unfortunately, without a degree in Manhattan, Kansas, that's where I lived at the time, there was Kansas State University, and I never finished school. I was there for a little while, and I was competing with college professors to get articles put into place.
Right.
Odds really long on my actually getting hired as a staffer. Yeah.
You so you started Unstructured in 2018, is that correct?
Yep.
What brought that about? Was there something specific that was going on that encouraged you to start that?
I always wanted to start a podcast or do a podcast all the way back to 2005, 2006 timeframe.
Gotcha.
And I don't know, don't hold me to the dates because it gets blurred lines. Podcasting's been around for a while, but I was listening to, at the time, Mac-based podcasts like Mac Break Weekly. It's called The Talk Show, but it's by John Gruber, who does Daring Fireball, and then the show The Talk Show, and other stuff like that. And I really got into using Macs because I came from a PC world. I was doing computer stuff and things like that. And when I was teaching at the University of Arizona, my parents were kind enough to help me buy a Mac laptop. So I was like, oh, it's a university, and they use nothing but Macs there. And I kind of fell in love with the operating system accidentally. So I was like, okay, and I love the iPod. I was into all that stuff. But I realized that, well, they already have a lot of good Mac podcasts, and who the hell am I? Who's going to want to listen to me? So I just never did. I wrote some books, and then a couple years later or so, I still wanted to do a podcast. And my solution to doing a podcast, and this went on for over 10 years, is I would just buy another piece of equipment. Like, okay, I've got a microphone, so I'm going to start a podcast. And well, I didn't, but you know what? I need to get a board, to connect the microphone. So a mixer. And then I could get a mixer, a couple of years later, and that's really going to start the podcast. And of course, it didn't start the podcast. And I was a runner for a while in around 2012 or so. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'll do a running podcast because I lost a ton of weight at the time. I was running a bunch of half marathons, other races, things like that. And I thought, okay, well, I'll do a running podcast. And then I realized that, well, okay, there's a lot to learn with running, no doubt. But even there's kind of a threshold of how much information there is. And so I bought a couple more pieces of equipment and I guested on a couple podcasts because they liked my story and, in that crowd. And went on for a few more years. But I was always reading Freakonomics, listening to podcasts and the books. Freakonomics is both. People like Malcolm Gladwell. I was into kind of like pop psychology, all that cool stuff, especially when I was out running. And I kind of got into Joe Rogan a little bit. I'd listen to him from time to time. And there was a guest on there, Sam Harris, who I've always found to be kind of a smug prick. And he was complaining about another guest that Joe Rogan had. His name was Hunter Motz. And because of my feelings about Sam Harris, I was like, well, if he really was annoyed by this guy, I should probably check out that podcast. And
Right.
I did listen to it and found out that Hunter Motz is actually kind of grew up as friends of Brian Callen, who's another comedian and one of Joe Rogan's oldest friends. And it was the Brian Callen show, which they had renamed into Mixed Mental Arts. And on Mixed Mental Arts, they were interviewing people like Jonathan Haidt and Jordan Peterson. And I
Right.
was like, wow, this is cool. These guys, they're, interviewing all these people. So I joined the Facebook community and I was, typing in there. The problem is that the crowd there, as Hunter put it, it was kind of an intellectual dick measuring contest.
Oh dear.
Which is sort of annoying. And if you've been around that area, you'll see a lot of it in like the different atheist type communities and different, I don't want to say autist, but it comes to people's minds. If you hang out with the Ricada crowd or whatever, that let's just say the term autist is thrown about. And this is similar to that. And I thought, well, you know what? If I start a podcast, I might have a chance to talk to these authors, and I may not be as bright as the other people here, but I can maybe have a conversation with them and get an opportunity to ask questions. And I almost called it Idea Pub because my thought was that it would be like going into a pub and there's two people sitting on the table, me and somebody else. And I would talk to the person and be like, oh, you're an FBI agent. Well, how does that work? What do you do? Or, oh, you wrote this book and you had this philosophy. What do you do? Whatever. And that, people could overhear it. Didn't actually call it that. I called it unstructured because it was literally supposed to be that, like not formulaic, not a robotic list of questions that
Right.
they would answer. It would be more conversational. And that became the show in 2018. I also wanted a name other than my own because, who the hell is Eric Hunley and who cares? So I hid behind, that. It was, a show called Unstructured. I would do it, blah, 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 blah. Ran that for a couple of years, made a lot of contacts. I'm pretty good at networking, I guess, or just I would interview different people, especially, that were coming up, and establish a lot of relationships. Like, I don't know if you've heard of the Behavior Panel.
Oh yeah.
They call me the fifth Beatle because I kind of introduced a couple of them, and that's what put the panel together.
I didn't
And
realize you introduced them. That's great.
Not all of them. I mean, Greg and Scott went way back. Ideally, I put Scott with Chase Hughes.
Okay.
And Chase comes back into it. But anyway, that's what put them together. But before the Behavior Panel even existed, in 2019, I was in Disney because of my corporate job. Had a conference in Orlando, and they put us at the Disney resort. I don't know. I'm not complaining. They did. They paid for it. But
Even better.
exactly. He called me And he said, Chase Hughes called me and said, hey, I want to do a video interview. And I said, no, I don't do that. I'm a podcaster. I have a face for radio. We know this. And I don't wish to do that. He said, come on, man. He lived in the area at the time. He said, we'll have a bottle of wine or something, man. And we'll just do it. It'll be fun. Yeah. I'm like, oh, all right. Do you have a phone? I guess I can use my phone. We'll do something. Yeah, man. Okay. And so we scheduled something for December that year. And thankfully, Thursday night, we were going to get together that Friday or whatever. He called me up and he goes, hey, man, I got a teaching gig at Fort Bragg. So would you mind? I kind of need to do so. Yeah, I totally understand, man. Go. So he did that. But the September of that year, I had been at Independent Podcasters Conference in Philly area. It was actually in Atlantic City, but he's out of the Philly area. And the hot thing at the time was live streaming. The audio podcasters were all looking at this thing over here with the live streaming, and the tools were coming out like StreamYard, which we're on right now, and other tools. So it's becoming, hey, this is a doable thing, and it's starting to get some traction with some talking head type of material. And I went ahead and said, you know what, look, let me do this. I'll do the show with Chase because we were supposed to reschedule anyway. And if I do it on there, that might be worth it, because most of my interviews would average research of anywhere from 10 hours to sometimes 50 plus hours.
Right.
Just depending on what it is. It's like, okay, they wrote a book and I listened to the book. I don't really have time to read. I listen.
Right.
Because of schedule conflicts and whatever. So driving back and forth to work at the time, I had about an hour commute each way. That helped me prepare. And I thought, well, I could do this video with Chase. I've already interviewed the guy. I know them really well. I was even doing the audiobook narration possibly at the time. Didn't wind up working out. Found out that audiobook narration, it's a bit too much effort. Especially if you're serious, you have to keep backing up and re-saying the same sentence when you have 400 pages. You're dying. You're dying. It's like, okay, one chapter takes me 8 hours. No, thank you.
Yikes.
Yeah, no, not cool. But anyway, I was like, okay, so if I do this, because there's this thing called a chat, I could lean on the chat.
Yeah. They
ask some questions. And it won't be as much work, It's like because I know the guy and all that stuff, so why not? And you know what? Boom! It did. It worked great. First time out the gate, I probably had 25 to 50 people watching something. It was a really good enough. Chase is a very popular guy,
right.
Even back then. Now it would be 4,000, 5,000 probably easily. Right. But back then I was like, oh. Hey, this is so cool. And I did it, I'm doing it, the chat, kept it occupied the whole time, easiest thing ever. And I thought, okay, cool. I could do this. I'll do this again next week. I've got my friend, Viva Fry.
Yeah.
David, I can get David on here. And you think Chase is popular? David just crossed 100,000 subscribers. Oh my, he's huge. He's a huge YouTuber.
Right.
And so I had David on, and I think there was 5 people watching and 1 chat the entire time.
Oh no.
Fortunately, again, he's a friend, so he's a personal friend. We built a relationship, and I was able to ask him a lot of just questions I wanted to know, like what kind of rig are you doing and how is it? I don't know, people who have been following Viva Fry for years or whatever, a lot of people have discovered him lately with Barnes and whatnot. But back then, this is tying to his, the squirrel with the camera running up the post. But he also was such a vlogger. He kind of was, I'm not being mean when I say I want to be Casey Neistat. He was very influenced by Casey Neistat. A lot of people were. And David, his camera would always be on. And the dude was like donating blood with the camera.
Mhm.
And I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
like,
picking up the kids from school.
no, just all the time. And he's completely fearless. And, I've been around him in person, and he is always on and always looking for a shot. It's an amazing ability. But I talked about that and everything else. So it filled the time. And then I thought, okay, so what do I do? What do I do next? And I had my friend Christina Lennon come on. She's the one who hypnotized Simon Cowell of, Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent,
Oh,
all that
okay.
stuff. And
Okay.
they actually called the paramedics in and everything because he was, completely out. And she's like, they're like,
Wow.
get back here, Christina, get back here. But she hypnotized people with her dog. She had Hypno Dog. But I had her on, and then that was more balanced to where I actually had some questions coming in and things like that. But
yeah.
I learned during all of this that one, I had to be prepared, whether it's a live stream or podcast, whatever it is. I've got to
Mhm.
have some degree of preparation.
Right.
But two, I found that oddly enough, the podcast was not, it didn't do that well. I mean, it really, the only people that listen to my podcast, I mean, there were a few more, but they were all podcasters. So it's just like this completely incestuous type of thing where
Sure.
I go to a conference, I make friends with a bunch of podcasters, they listen to my podcast, I listen to their podcast, but it's like there's this whole thing called the rest of the world that I want to reach, not
Right.
my fellow podcasters.
Sure.
And as much as I trash YouTube actually did put me in front of people who are different. Like with a podcasting, you have to beat every bush and threaten everybody to listen to your show and just hope that through word of mouth,
Sure.
others will discover it, or maybe there will be an article written. You can be I was featured in a magazine or whatever. And it would trickle in, but without that, you're dead. And it's completely up to you. You have to build, you got to build your audience. You got to build your social. You have to build everything.
Yeah.
With YouTube does have an algorithm. YouTube will put you in front of people based on other things. So it's not only the fellow YouTubers or audience, but potentially their audience might get a recommendation. Some might click it and some might like it. And so I learned a couple things. Like one, that was powerful. Number two, even though I have a face for radio, for whatever reason, I was more successful doing something that made me completely uncomfortable than something I was more comfortable doing.
Sure.
And that's kind of a weird lesson in life, where it's like, you don't know what's going to work or not work, and you really shouldn't make assumptions. So,
Sure.
I don't know. This is an incredibly long-winded path, but there you go.
So it's Chase's fault. Is what I'm hearing.
Ultimately for video, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So you have, is it 5 channels?
Multiple. I mean, technically I have 4 mostly active channels. It's
Okay.
very difficult to keep things constant. Right now, the one in my name, which is Unstructured or Eric Hunley or whatever it is, that's something that's always changing over time. Eric, so we'll just say Eric Hunley Unstructured, is active. My primary active channel, the one that pays the bills, is America's Untold Stories, which I do as a partnership with Mark Robert. And then the other one that has been pretty consistent, even though it's hard to always have it on the Fridays, Laid Back Law, where I have legal panels when I do it on Fridays.
Yes, you got sucked into the law tube there.
Oh, again, that's another. Okay, I'm in with all the body language folks, knows
Sure.
about everybody, and I'm in with a lot of the lawyers. Now, I'm not going to say all of them, but some of the quote law tube I've been involved with for a while.
Yeah.
Having
has
the
been a while.
panel and whatnot. It's Nick Rekieta had some panels that I think were called the Big Brain panel that kind of dissipated after a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was doing panels at the time. I mean, all the way back to Rittenhouse when Nick went, completely viral
Sure.
doing the Kyle Rittenhouse coverage. So that stemmed out of, I think it was Thanksgiving 2020 timeframe. I did Black Friday, FREIDAY, with Viva and Barnes.
Gotcha.
And I had already done an interview with Nate, the lawyer, at the time. And that kind of just became, okay, this Friday, every other Friday I had off because I was on a 90-80 schedule at my work. And I was able to just invite. So I had interviewed Nick already. I had already, interviewed Nate. I was friends with David. Barnes kind of came with a, interviewed Barnes. So now I'm starting to get a baseline of lawyers. I had interviewed Kurt on civil law. And then Joe, I think, came about early 2021. I don't remember. Joe Neerman, Good Logic. And he's been, a long time.
I love Joe. Love Joe.
He's been on Legal Friday, forever. One of the early players, and there's Legal Bites, Elite. But anyway, it just I happened to get enough people, and Emily Baker would come on, quite a bit of the time. She's way too big now.
She's way too big. I know. Yeah.
But anyway, I no credit to her. It's just it's difficult for her to line things out, and there's always a trial or something going on. That gets tough.
Yeah, no, it does. But you seem to successfully manage wrangling some of the more wily law tubers.
I guess. I don't know. They're just different folks. I mean, if they have fun, that's really the goal. Is if they have fun, they'll come by. If they don't, they won't. I mean, it doesn't. I'm very fortunate to have that.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, it's fortune, but it's also a certain skill set. I mean, your interview style is interesting as well. How would you just? Well, I mean, how would you describe it?
Curious. I guess I don't know I don't know of a specific form. It is. I think of it as more of a conversation, which is sometimes to my detriment. I do try to research it to death, which also could be to my detriment. There's something called the curse of knowledge, but I genuinely want to meet them, and I want to know what they are doing, and I try to come up with something. Okay, here's an example. I did a interview with John Kiriakou, and I have to always pause for a second because the way it was spelled or something, I was saying it wrong in my head, and I have a condition where if I say something wrong, I have to make sure I never, ever, ever, even accidentally, even ever repeat it the wrong way I said it, or it'll come out that way. It's a trip, but it's Kiriakou. And I didn't know where to go with him. And that's a lot of what my interviewing is. I just don't know where I'm going to go with it. I want it to be something different if possible. I have the ambitious goal of, if anybody I interview is asked, hey, always hoping that mine will be one of the top 2 or 3. If I can make the short list, then I've done a good job. And I feel that in order to do that, I try to surprise my guest early to establish a relationship, but mostly in the sense of where they get startled. Where I do something they don't expect. And it's usually a piece of knowledge, like, the fact that I did read chapter 9 of the book and halfway through.
Sure.
And I'm asking a deeper question, or I think about, like, what were they maybe feeling or thinking? What's their philosophy, whatever it is. And then when I ask that, even though I might be wrong, I might make a conjecture and be completely wrong. It's still that I give a damn enough that I'm thinking about it.
Right.
And that kind of establishes something. So I don't know if that's a style or a tactic. I don't know how you put it, but then my goal is to have a conversation as if we're peers and learn from them. So with John as an example of this, because it just came out this past Thursday, if people, you want to check it out, you can get an idea of where this theme went. I thought John has been interviewed by everybody. And I mean, everybody. Like, one thing I've found is you interview somebody who is a bigger name, a lot of times they flop. Because one, if they have their own show, like I've interviewed Dave Rubin, not a great performer. It's not Dave's fault. But if people want to, hear from Dave Rubin, they might go watch the Rubin Report. I've
Sure.
interviewed Jeremy from the Cornery. Well, they can watch the Cornery. They don't need me to do that. So there's got to be something about it that's unique, or that I'm providing that's hopefully worthwhile. With John, I thought, okay, while I was researching, I found out that he had a debate with another CIA agent, Andrew Bustamante. I actually had interviewed Andrew Bustamante years ago, and I kind of got into it with him. Not a mean fight, but I mean,
Right.
I will push back, and there will be a little, push and pull. And I, in that interview, the basic conflict point was, I was saying, the CIA officers, to me, work for the American people. I was a soldier. I swore an oath when I was a soldier, and that oath was to the Constitution. And to me, ultimately, the Constitution is the American people. It
Right.
is we the people. Anyway, Andrew said no. He didn't believe that. We went back and forth a little bit. So I was like, okay, so John debated him. John is famous for being a CIA whistleblower. Now, to me, a whistleblower implies that he would think that the public is important. Who do you whistleblow to? You whistleblow to the public.
Right.
So if you're into exposing it, so I thought, okay, well, let me do this. And I pulled the clip of my arguing, fairly early. So we started off, and I started talking about LBJ and a little stuff here and there. And so it's a nice friendly back and forth. It's different. He's
Sure.
not a standard thing. And then I dropped the Bustamante clip, and then he was like, yeah, that's wrong. So that, I think, established a tone, and this is where the conversation is going. And then from there, I just asked certain questions. Like, one of them I was nervous about asking, but I just wanted to know, because I'm that way. If things stick out at me, or they trip me up, I'm always looking. And one of them was, I was reading articles about him, and I was shocked. I was like, wait a minute, he left the CIA in 2004, and like the New Yorker article on him said he retired. I'm like, He joined the CIA in the early 90s. How do you retire in
10
14
years,
years or fewer?
Sure.
Okay, hold on. When did he get out of school? So I'm looking at that, right? And he got out of school a couple of years earlier. I'm like, okay, was he in the government then? Because maybe it was, one of those where you're part government, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't make the math work. I'm like, he needs 20 damn years and 55 years old. So he's born in 65 or yeah, I think I was right. But anyway, he turned 55 in 2004. So 64, I guess, or whatever it was. I'm like, oh, okay. Actually, no, that's not even right. But anyway, I was like, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. How in the hell is this going to happen? And the reason why I was curious is part of the reason he's seeking a pardon, because he went to prison for a couple of years so he could get his pension. How do you get a pension if you don't have the years in? So anyway, I'm just saying, these things get in my head.
The math isn't mathing, right?
Right. And I found that sometimes it's those little weird things that can
Devil's in the details.
Right. It can lead to a lot of things. So I just asked him about it. And I was like, it says you retired. And he said, I resigned. I don't know why they always write that. And I was like, okay, good. And I had already looked up that he had resigned. And then I confirmed with them it was a matter of that time, he got out of there, but then he also worked for John Kerry, for Congress, and others. Gotcha. So then he accumulated a few more years. So technically he did have the 20 years.
Time. Yeah.
But then that led me into where I could talk about the pardon. And while we were doing that, I knew ahead of time, I was kind of tipped. It's like, ask him about Rudy Giuliani. Ask him about, anyway, so there's some things going on there. But I just came up with the concept while we were talking. I was like, okay, how, and I'm asking you, how many people do you know that have sought a pardon?
None.
And I'm guessing I don't know anybody who's, sought a pardon. I mean, it's kind of a big deal if you
It's
really
kind of
think
a
about
big deal. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, oh, that to me is kind of an interesting question now. Like, how do you go about, what's the process? What do you do? Because he mentioned, packages, and I was like, hey, can you walk me through that? And
Yeah.
ironically, nobody's ever asked him that.
Huh. Interesting.
So sometimes it's some of these weird things nobody's ever asked him. And I'd say the majority was kind of going through his activities, trying to get a pardon, going through 3 presidents, still doesn't have a pardon.
Yeah.
Some of the drama that took place, because it's very interesting, like
Sure.
like John McCain, out of all the people. Okay, now it's funny because John Kiriakou is super tight with Tucker Carlson, all that, right? He was tight with John McCain. So think about that for a second, because John McCain is not liked by many in the quote MAGA
Sure.
crowd, and
Sure.
and especially we'll say the right wing Law 2 crowd. I know you've interviewed Nick Rekieta. I will place a bet that Nick Rekieta is not a John McCain fan.
I didn't ask him.
You didn't ask him, but it's my instinct. I've had Nick on a bunch, but anyway, I'm going to say in that crowd,
It's
no.
highly possible. Highly possible.
And another thing is, a governor of Virginia gave him a pardon. It was Terry McAuliffe. I was like, I did not expect that. You never know who and what. So that was some of the interview, and I guess the basic principle is just trying to come up with something to go in to have a conversation, to learn from it. And if it's interesting enough, then I'm engaged. Hopefully the audience is engaged. All
Right.
That's cool. And if it can be fresh enough, it's good. Now, the big worry is, and it's a curse I have, it's called the curse of knowledge. And that's where sometimes when I research so much about somebody, there's a part of me that's going, yeah, no. And I might not get into some of the A, B, C, D beats of the story.
Sure.
I know. Because I want to get right down into the deep stuff. And that can sometimes be confusing to a viewer or listener.
Sure.
So that's the
Sure.
the downside of it.
Right. Excuse me a second. I need to clear my throat.
Okay.
I don't want to do that on air. And that threw me off. See, I think it's that listening, that gift of listening and hearing
Sure.
what somebody is saying. That I find those types of presentations or streaming or podcast or whatever you want to call it, those are more compelling to me. And because like you, I listen more than I watch.
Mhm.
So, because I can listen while I'm doing other things, and I think
Sure.
a lot of people do that too. So there's like, oh, I know these names, but I don't know the faces because I'm never really watching. But
Right.
you're definitely more dialed into a different sort of news source than I. That's just for whatever reason, but I still find it very, very compelling. Just to hear the stories and the way you interview, and then also the way you and Mark will tell a story.
Right. That's mostly Mark. I mean, if we're going to lay that down, if we're doing the news, I'm talking a lot more. If it's a presentation like JFK or really any presentation, then Mark takes the lead. I am supporting with graphics, with everything else, and trying to facilitate that.
Well, I think, but there's also, when to ask the questions that the audience is wanting to ask. Like you kind of are the proxy. Because
Perhaps, yeah.
Mark will get tied up in his own knowledge, like,
Mhm.
the curse of knowledge or what have you. but it's like, wait a minute, there's a question here, and when to ask those things. And I think it's a really interesting balance when you two get together, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So where do you think you plan on going with your channels, or is it one that's going to be pushed more, do you think?
Well, I mean, honestly, America's Untold Stories is my day job in a sense. Like,
Sure.
that's the bread and butter, what's happening. I'm always experimenting. I have another channel called Proven Conspiracies, which has been a bit fallow of late, which is a faceless channel. Enjoy doing stuff there. And I'm always learning. Actually, I have another channel that has shorts on it. That was me doing 100% AI building, just for the idea of doing AI video and doing it with a short form. And it's just stuff I like. History. I love history. But anyway.
I think you guys are really good at the history. I mean, like, I love the way you tell history. Love it.
Well, thank you. What I'm actually working on doing now, and I literally just had a long conversation earlier today, is I'm probably going to be doing a bit more, on my namesake channel. I do the interviews, but I talk about the curse of knowledge and different elements of it. I may be revisiting a lot of what I have done and filling out gaps that have been created, and I'll be adding more narrative around them and using it to help clarify the interviews that I've already done, as well as different things. For example, I've had multiple people talking about O.J. Simpson, and with that, I think that there is a place for it to say what happened that night. And with my different guests who have very different views, they don't agree. And I have one interview that never got released, of some just massive, bitter, screaming, fighting. It was horrible. Now, it was. I chose not to release it because it makes me look like an idiot that I can't handle the guests.
Creative editing.
There was no creative editing. It was just a yell fest. I was checking my email at the time. I tuned completely out.
Oh no.
They were awful. I mean, I'm sorry. The behavior was just completely out of hand and not acceptable. But those who were on my locals can go look at it. It's a train wreck they can see there. Anyway, having that put together, I think, could be compelling. I have other examples like Charles Manson. I've had Tom O'Neill on. He wrote the book Chaos. Interviewed him. He has a view on it, and he talks about Jolly West and a lot of MK Ultra happened there. Yeah. But then I also have had Nick Schreck on, who is the son-in-law or former son-in-law of Anton LaVey, who was friends of Charles Manson and did a movie with them, visited him all the time. And he said Charles Manson was just nothing more than a drug dealing thug and was not the master manipulator. I've had John Atack on, who was one of the first people banned by Scientology. He was building a competing religion, and I think he's still writing a book about Charles Manson being Scientology trained. So now there's 3 narratives right there.
Right. Yeah. It's fascinating.
What if I put those into a show? What if I take that and then just say, who was Charles Manson? So who was O.J. Simpson? Who was Charles Manson? I interviewed John McAfee before he died. Probably be doing something about John McAfee and expanding that. So that's kind of what I'm working on. This is literally, spoiler alert, like I'm just now working on formulating it, but that's kind of the direction.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Well,
yeah. You also seem to be on quite literally every single platform. It seems like a lot of work. How do you manage that?
Well, what do you mean by that? Like America's Untold Stories, I simul stream on Rumble, Locals, and YouTube. And really, you set it up and then you go, it's a challenge in following the chats, of course.
Sure.
And then I roll over into locals after
Right.
for that. Eric Hunley, I'm not. It's only on YouTube. Layback Law is on Rumble, Locals, and YouTube. Kind of, in there. Proven Conspiracy is only YouTube. So it depends. Oh, and also Layback Law, I've been putting out an X as well to try to build that. But some of that is like, okay, StreamYard, it says point at these targets. You set it up. It's a bit extra time, but it's not that bad. Once you set it up, it can roll. So now, as far as on platforms, like I have an Instagram account. I never post there.
Yeah.
I have a Facebook account. I don't really do much there. I occasionally check it, but that's it. So X is my primary, and obviously Locals.
But Spotify.
Yeah. I put stuff up on Spotify, but it's not consistent.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be something I'd need to have automatically publishing and spitting it up there.
Yeah.
But I do not do that regularly.
Okay. Because I was looking at just running through your stuff. I was like, my God, that's a lot of work. I can barely do one channel and get it up consistently. So
well, this is my job.
Yeah.
So it is a full-time endeavor, but yeah,
Sure.
The podcast, as far as that goes, I have not released an audio even copy. I was trying to say, okay, I'll just run down the audio output of these interviews and put them. I haven't done that in years now. It's just I'm pretty focused on just the video stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's good stuff. It's good content. If you could give one piece of advice to a YouTuber or somebody who's interested in streaming or podcasting or getting on YouTube, what would it be?
Do something that you love so much, that you're so passionate about, that you annoy all of your friends and family with, that you will do for free, or you would do for free, because you will.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I like that. And then I guess it is also that approach where it's your job. You got to approach it like it's a job. You got to get
right, and you better
and
have a lot of motivation to do this. I mean, it is. If somebody wants to be a nurse, somebody wants to be a doctor, somebody wants to be a mechanic, they need to have a passion to really learn it and be comfortable and be interested to do this for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I mean, so it's the same basic principle, but do note that it will be a job. So that's the flip side, is if you truly love something, love it with all your heart, yeah, some of the love's going to come off a little bit. Some of that shine's going to come off after a while, because there are times you just got to show up, and you've got to, you have to deliver. Again, it's your job. And I'm sure everybody here can relate. Yeah, everybody here was excited by whatever thing in their career at one point, their degree, there's profession, and now it's like they find little pockets to excite them, but it's a similar principle.
Mm-hmm. If you could take over any one YouTuber's channel for one day, who would it be, and what chaos would you cause?
For what purpose?
Does it matter?
No, I mean,
the first one that comes to mind.
It's kind of a bad question for me, because I'm very into the idea of everybody doing their own thing and not. I'm not going to say I'm not jealous, because I'm absolutely jealous of different people and things like that. But I kind of am like, oh, they're doing a great thing there. How do I go do my thing better? So I can't really think of it. I mean, I could throw something out there like, oh, Mr. Beast, that would be cool, or whatever. Temple, I've been on Temple a couple times, but it wasn't a matter of taking over the channel. It was a matter of, by being a guest on his show, I got to see his operation and and see the mechanics of it. That I think is very, very fascinating as to I I like exploring how people are doing things, and I'm very, very fortunate to have, really good friends. Like Nate the lawyer is that's my closest friend, really, online and probably in general. We talk a lot. I'm in trouble with a wife. Okay, we talk that much.
Uh-oh.
It's but every element of YouTube or whatever else, and I learned so much about what he's doing. Nate is exploding. If you want to talk about a YouTuber that'll blow your mind with how well he's doing, go look at his numbers.
Oh,
In the
I
lot
love
too.
Nate. I
Yeah,
love
he's
Nate.
number one probably right now. I think he's above Emily. He's
Really?
above
Good for
Nick,
him.
above Viva Fry now.
I love it. I love it.
So,
He
but
works hard. I like his point of view. I like the diversity of the crowd for sure, because some some topics it's like, okay, well, what do you think? Like, I like to hear
yeah.
it. I think it's fascinating.
Well, Nate
Uh,
changes up all the time, and that's part of it too. Is that right now, or whatever, it's like there's a period. It's like, well, this is the on-camera period for Nate, and it's like, oh no, he's off period now. Oh, now he's doing scripting this way, or now he's doing this way, and he never is doing the same thing, which means that it's always changing enough to keep him going. And you have to be careful, because you'll see like a band with a lot of YouTubers and just any artist. I think it was Nate who told me, and I don't know where he got it. It might have been just from him, but I think he got it from somewhere. Every show, if you think of television, just about has 100 episodes. And if they get to 100 episodes, that means they're going out. It might take a year or two, but they're going out. They've hit the peak. They're starting to run out of story ideas.
And they're going to jump the shark.
They could jump the shark, but a lot of times it's just kind of going through the motions. There's a lifespan for every channel, every piece of entertainment network. Obviously, there are exceptions, and people in the comments, I will acknowledge that. You'll point out Gunsmoke lasted for 20 years and on down the line. But I'm talking about just if you look at overall, there's very few Law and Orders. Most shows, 100 episodes, about 4 to 5 years. This is the successful ones. And then there's kind of done. And then think of your own viewing habits. How many of you, I know that I have watched shows and then I just sort of stop watching. I mean, it's not hatred towards them, anything. It's just something about it. You're just kind of going, okay, and it goes away. Well, that's sort of the YouTube thing. Is if you think about your viewing habits, I see it on YouTube too, and then the algorithm, it finesses it. So like if you start seeing things in the feed and you don't click on them, well, stop showing them to you.
Yeah.
After a while, it just kind of goes, okay. And especially if you subscribe to a lot of channels, then it's going to be even more pronounced. But have you ever seen that where you're like, you know what, I haven't seen anything for a while from such and such, and you realize that, oh, I haven't really clicked on that, or I really kind of wasn't interested. I wonder what's happening with them. You're almost reminded from the side.
Right. And then
So
also
that's
the reverse, like you click on something and you didn't like it, and now all of a sudden that's all you see. It's like, go away.
Absolutely. Or you binge. I mean, it's like as soon as you find something new, I mean, how do you binge? It's like, oh, you click that, and then all of a sudden there's no suggestion. You're like, oh, well, that looks pretty good too. Click, and then it fills your feed. So it's
for sure.
Interesting.
For sure. Yeah, that is fascinating part of YouTube. I think that's it's a challenge to understand. And it's a little intimidating to try to figure out sometimes. But
and it's tough being on both ends of it too. Like I've seen it with AUS that we'll have some like really fans, like whoa, hardcore.
Oh yeah.
Really watching every episode. I see them in the chat. You see the name over and over, all that stuff, and then they're just gone. And I know it's nothing personal. It's just that for whatever reason they've moved on. It's like I kind of feel like I'm serving a meal, or I'm like a restaurant, and I've given enough meals, and they've moved on to other meals. I don't.
Right.
I don't know how else to put it. And I know it's not personal and it's not that. And it could be they've just found something else that's interesting. They've gotten their fill of this, or I'm boring them and I need to
Right.
work on that. I don't know.
Well, I haven't been bored yet. I'm not very active in your chat because I'm usually just listening. Like I'm just compelled to listen. So it's like I have to go in there and make comments. It seems like I would quit listening.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's
most people are just watching.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but there's too much information. I mean, really, really good information on just about every topic you cover, in my opinion. I'm not going to say I'm like, fangirling, but maybe a little. Maybe a little.
Okay.
I like it. I like it a lot. Well, I know we're running tight on your time. So I wanted to, there's one question I ask at the end of every show.
Okay.
If heaven exists, you'll recognize this question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you at the pearly gates?
That I was kind.
That you were kind?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. It's very simple, but to the point.
I think that's one of the best things that anyone can ever be. You don't have to be stronger. You don't have to be faster. You don't have to be smarter, but you can always be kind. And that's a choice.
Sure. I agree. I agree with that. Well, I appreciate. Where can people find you? It's America's Untold Stories, and I
Or
think
just my
I've
name.
got Eric
Eric
Hunley.
Hunley.
Yeah, I think we've been dropping Eric Hunley in the chat, but if I could get one of the mods to drop America's Untold Stories, so people can know where to go find that too. Well, I look forward to the new adventure because that sounds very exciting. Cannot
Well,
wait
thank
to.
you.
Cannot wait.
We'll see if it works. The next interview that I release, tomorrow's interview is going to be from the vault, as I put it. Because I've been around for several years, there are interviews that people have not seen. I mean, obviously they've been out there, but people haven't watched them. So I finally unlisted them a while back, and I'm re-releasing them, like with a little intro, just so people can see them. Like last week's interview, I think had 300 views ever. So there's a lot of people out there. I've got 80,000, not quite 80,000 subs who haven't seen it, and I'm like, well, it's some good information with Jim Casey, and I'm doing that with older interviews. Like I'm going to re-release the Andrew Bustamante interview tomorrow since it came up in the show on Thursday. But Thursday will be the new material. We're working on that right now. It's an interview with Leland Hale about Robert Hansen, and that's with Hansen. He's the Butcher Baker, not the FBI spy with two S's, but the Butcher Baker who, well, essentially he owned his own plane, and late into his career, he would take victims in his plane, drop them off, and then hunt them like the most dangerous game. It was a really, really bad dude. But anyway, but because there's so much to it, and Curse of Knowledge, that one I got nerdy in and everything that helped inspire it, I will be trying to fill in with narrative to mix the storytelling with the interviewing to make it a little more like a Dateline 48 Hours or something. But instead of like one line from the interviewee, it'll still be a lot of lines. But so it kind of be the reverse. Like in a narrative magazine show format, they talk and do narration, a lot of it, and then little pepper points with interviews. I'm going to be kind of trying to do the reverse, which is just enough narration because people don't want to hear me blathering a lot to help the flow of the interview, but the interview is the show. And then later on I may do full narration depending, but that's kind of the that will hopefully be the start that I will be doing, narration and tying it to the interview to hopefully make it more impactful.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Really looking forward to that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess thank you so much for coming on, and I apologize that I ding-donged today. I had the stream set up properly, but I wrote it down 2 p.m. like I knew
Well,
what I
stream
was
showed
doing.
1 o'clock too, so it was very confusing.
Yeah, no, I apparently set up the stream perfectly fine, but in whatever my little pea brain did, it was not the right one. So I apologize. That was
All
not
right.
my intention to waste your day for sure. But I appreciate you coming on and tolerating my questions. And I guess I didn't see any questions coming in. So
If you want to look real quick, I mean, I'll hang out
yeah.
for a second and then we'll.
If anybody
check it.
has any questions, now would be a great time. Let's see if there's any. Oh, we've got Connor came in with a $10 super chat, said, Rosalind, how are you? And Eric, good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
And just Jay Hip says, love you, Rosalind. Thanks, Jay. Love you too. Starchasm gifted 20 memberships. Thank you so much, Starchasm. Nice. Just Jay Hip says he's been a member for 5 months. Thanks, Jay. Debbie Baker. Well, hello, Debbie Baker. Good to see you, stranger. Gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. And this is Channel Meme News. I love this stream. For me, it was inspirational, informative, and genuinely useful. I learned a lot. Well, good. I'm glad you learned a lot.
Thank you.
Let's see. Dwayne Rapp says he's a member for 5 months. Hello, Dwayne. I guess I'm not seeing any come in.
All right. Cool.
See. Yep. A lot of people said they enjoyed the stream. So, well,
awesome.
Yes. So I appreciate you so much and thank you again. And I hope to see you around.
All right.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. See you in the tubes.
It's tell me everything. Stars inside gonna sing and swing. With Rosalind too, there's joy in the air. Life's a show and we'll